Welcome everyone to hour 22 of our 24 hours of reality, and it's my great pleasure to present the 22nd reason for hope. We're going to talk about regional and state governments here. In the 23rd hour, we're going to talk about cities where a lot of action is also taking place. Well, even in the absence of strong national leadership in some places, regional and state governments around the world have taken it upon themselves to become clean energy leaders. And of course, solving the climate crisis will require leadership and action from all governments, big and small. And that's one of the reasons why I'm truly inspired to see so many regional and state governments taking the climate crisis seriously, realizing the opportunities that can be seized in solving it, and prioritizing our clean energy future. This really is a very powerful reason for hope. Globally, we are seeing regional and state entities take this on. For example, we had a discussion in the previous hour about China's actions at the national level. Well, it's important to also point out that 12 of China's 34 provinces are taking action on their own. And the shape of governance in our world is changing in the age of the internet. And in many cases, these subnational governments are the places that people look first for action, particularly when the politics at the national level appear to be paralyzed or frozen up. And tragically, that is the case in the United States federal government all too often. But let's take a look at some other regional governments. In Canada, the national government has been behaving like a climate denier, and there's a whole host of reasons for that. But a lot of the provincial governments in Canada are taking action on their own. British Columbia has had a carbon tax since 2008, a revenue-neutral carbon tax, and it's been extremely successful. And farther to the east in Canada, in Ontario, the province of Ontario ordered the closing of its last coal-burning facility, and this actually was the single largest coal-burning generating plant in all of North America. I had the honor of being present when the provincial governor made the decision, announced the decision. We had climate leaders from Climate Reality from all over Canada there cheering her on. It was a fantastic policy. And then the same day, she introduced legislation at the provincial level to ban any coal burning of any kind in Ontario in the future. So even if Canada's national government has been backing away from doing the right thing, these provinces are really taking leadership. Quebec also, but let's look at some other regional governments. In India, the states of Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana are all investing in massive, large-scale solar initiatives. And the Indian state of Punjab has already adopted net metering, and they are giving homeowners the credit they deserve for producing solar energy, and if they produce more than they need and sell it back into the grid, they get credit for that. That's a progressive policy. There are struggles over that kind of policy in some of the US states, but Punjab has already introduced it. So this really is a powerful source of hope, because these regional governments can and often do link up and create regional governments where states and provinces work together and cooperate. There is a network of regional governments focused on sustainable development, and at this point, over 600 of these governments around the world have joined together to work on sustainable development. They're sharing ideas, they're collaborating with one another, and they're making a tremendous difference. The United Nations Development Program, which we'll hear from at the special summit of the United Nations next week, has reported that these subnational authorities do have a key role to play. They're working with them as well, and these regional and state authorities are making a tremendous difference. Just like Canada, in the United States, the policies on climate at the national level are stymied by politics. So we have President Obama taking initiatives on his own with the Environmental Protection Agency, and that's terrific. But state governments are actually moving very boldly. There are renewable portfolio standards in place in all of these states labeled green, and what that means is they have a state law requiring that utilities get a certain percentage of their electricity generation from solar or wind. And that creates a bigger market for the renewable energy technologies, helps them get to scale more quickly, and further drives down the cost. But that's not all. Renewable portfolio goals have also been set in all these states. And I mentioned earlier that some of these regional governments and state governments can work together. The northeast part of the United States has one of these regional compacts. You'll sometimes, well, it's called the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, but most people refer to it as RGGI. And RGGI has 9 states that have joined together to introduce a cap and trade program, and it has created jobs and spurred a great deal of innovation. On the West Coast, California has joined with 4 provinces in Canada and has created a regional network that crosses the North American continent and is making a tremendous difference in harmonizing their emissions trading program policies. Of course, in the United States, California has long been the leader in introducing progressive policies on a wide range of fronts, but where climate is concerned, California has played a particularly prominent role, introducing standards for energy efficiency. They've had their own auto mileage standards that actually ended up driving the entire national auto vehicle efficiency standards, and now they are using this cap and trade. But that's not all. California has also partnered with Mexico. But let me go back to RGGI for a minute in the northeastern United States. They're on track to reduce carbon emissions by 80 to 90 million tons over the next 6 years. That's a very impressive number, and it is a reason for hope. A lot is going on. So this is part of the RGGI Regional Compact. In Delaware, the first utility-scale solar park was built as part of this regional initiative. Delaware might not have been able to do it on its own, but having access to this partnership with other states in its region gave it the financial flexibility to go forward with this investment, and this has been true in other states as well. I started to mention a moment ago, California not only implemented its own cap and trade system, it is partnering not only with Quebec and Canada, but also with Mexico, with a truly historic international collaboration between a national government on the southern border of the U.S. and our largest state. So this really is a very powerful reason for hope. And for individuals who become frustrated with the inaction of the U.S. Congress, or if you're living in another country and you wish your national government might do more and they're not, you have the option of seeking action at the state level, at the provincial level, at the regional government level. And as I mentioned earlier, in the next hour, we're going to look at the exciting developments with cities. But at the regional and provincial level, some of the most innovative policies are now taking place. I have seen this in places all over the world. Cap and trade programs, appliance efficiency programs, building efficiency programs with standards for new construction and retrofit construction, vehicle standards, as I mentioned, and we are seeing incredible advances in places like California and Punjab, where individuals are actually getting an audience from the governmental leaders that are closer to them than their national leaders. And we're seeing initiatives in the schools as well, where many states are actually going the extra mile to put education programs in place and encourage young people to take what they learn back to their families and to spread the word. Now, along with this good news, there are, of course, some state initiatives that attempt to go in the other direction, but there's good news there as well. I have to mention, the state of Texas just ordered all of their children to read science textbooks, partly written by a climate denier organization, the Heartland Institute, so that they will get instruction about falsehoods, being told what this carbon polluter funded denier organization says, and it's just a propaganda exercise. It's so terrible that school children are exposed to that. But here's the good news that I started to get at. The climate deniers and the carbon polluters have also tried to use regional and state governments to try to get the wrong policies in place. But guess what? There is tremendous resistance to what they're doing. The Koch brothers and ExxonMobil and other large carbon polluters have banded together to finance a group that serves state legislatures. I say serves, it actually suborns the state legislators to do the bidding of carbon polluters. And they have tried to introduce some incredible measures, for example, to put a tax on individuals who install solar panels on their roofs, because the coal-burning electric utilities want to discourage that. But when they attempt to pass this legislation at the state level, they have been failing in state after state, and it's not so partisan on this issue. Republican-controlled state legislatures in the United States have been voting against these measures to discourage solar energy and wind energy. I mentioned earlier what happened in the state of Georgia. When legislation was introduced to put a tax on solar panels, the Atlanta Tea Party joined with the Sierra Club and formed a new organization that they named the Green Tea Party, and they defeated the legislation inspired by the Koch brothers because they want the option, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, they're homeowners, and they want the ability to put solar panels on their roofs if they so desire. And now that they're getting so cheap, and now that the electricity is so competitive with other sources, it's like having a satellite dish in the old days. They want the independence. They want to be able to make that choice for themselves. Even in the state of Kansas, where the state government is completely controlled by the Republican Party, in the state where the Koch brothers are based, their legislation was overwhelmingly defeated by Republicans. So I think we're seeing the turning of the tide at at the regional and state level, at least, with the disappearance of some of the toxic partisanship that has produced such paralysis in Washington, D.C. And this is true in other nations as well. Sometimes, with the passage of time, vested interests with a lot of wealth and political power have found the ability to stop any action they disagree with at the national level. But when people at the local level and the regional and state level become exercised, they have a better opportunity to get to their elected officials, express their points of view, do so passionately, and that kind of overrides some of the party line politics that have been too much a part of national politics. I'm very encouraged by this. I have seen it happen time after time. I have enjoyed going to events that are bipartisan in these regional and state governments where advocates of renewable energy are winning the day. So the fact that regional and state governments are filling the power vacuum when national governments fail to act, that is the 22nd reason for hope.